My name is Michael Carson. I'm 41 years old, and I've worked in IT security for nearly 2 decades. I've seen cybercrime, espionage, betrayal behind screens, but none of that prepared me for the betrayal in my own life. It all started on what was supposed to be a quiet Tuesday morning. I was sitting at a small beachside cafe in Tulum, Mexico, a place I had never been before, yet felt drawn to like gravity. The ocean breeze was warm, and my coffee was cooling just fast enough to drink. And then I saw her. She walked in, wearing the same white sundress she told me she packed, just in case it got warm. Her sunglasses were perched on her head. She was laughing. With him. The man sitting across from her wasn't just some stranger. He was touching her hand, leaning close, like they were in love, like I didn't exist. That moment didn't feel real. I wanted to blink and find myself back home in Colorado, waking up from a bad dream. But it was real. Every single second of it. The worst part? She didn't know I was there. You see, 3 days earlier my wife, Alyssa, told me she needed time. Said she was feeling overwhelmed, emotionally burnt out. Wanted to take a solo trip to reflect, journal, and breathe. I supported her. I even helped her pick the resort. But something inside me felt off. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the way she hugged me goodbye. Maybe it was the fact that she left her wedding ring on the bathroom sink and didn't even mention it. Or maybe I'd known for a while deep down that she wasn't really alone. I had a choice. Confront her then, or follow my instincts. I chose the latter. I moved quietly. Booked my own ticket. Different flight, different airline. I didn't even check luggage. I arrived in Tulum just 6 hours before her. And I waited. Patiently. Silently. Watching. What I saw wasn't just infidelity. It was a performance. She laughed like I'd never made her laugh. She touched him like I was already dead. In that moment, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was calculating. This wasn't just a marriage falling apart. This was a lie unraveling in real time, and I was done being the fool in the audience. She thought she was on a solo escape. What she didn't know was that I had landed before her, and the game was already over. Alyssa and I met at a cybersecurity conference in Las Vegas, of all places. I was speaking on digital privacy, and she was working PR for one of the vendors. She came up after my talk, complimented my tie, which was hideous, by the way, and the rest, as they say, is history. We clicked instantly. She was funny, outgoing, confident, the kind of person who made you feel seen in a room full of strangers. For a guy like me, who spent more time behind screens than with people, she was electric. Within 6 months, we'd moved in together. A year later, we got married on a snowy December afternoon in Vail. Just close friends, some light jazz, and a few too many old fashions. It was perfect. For the first few years, life was simple and beautiful. I worked remotely for a defense firm, and she transitioned from PR to wellness coaching. She started posting on Instagram, yoga flows, smoothie bowls, emotional healing mantras, and her following exploded. Before long, she had sponsorships, affiliate deals, brand retreats. She wasn't just Alyssa anymore. She was Alyssa, the energy architect. I didn't mind. I was proud of her, actually. I even helped set up her website and automate her booking system. She called me her rock, her foundation, the invisible engine behind her success. We traveled together a lot, Sedona, Maui, Iceland. She'd plan the trips, I'd find the flights and scan hotel Wi-Fi for threats. She once told me, "You make the world safe, and I make it beautiful." That line stuck with me for years. But somewhere along the way, the balance shifted. It started slow, almost unnoticeable. Fewer shared meals. She'd sleep later, claiming she needed to recharge her energy. I assumed it was burnout from the influencer life. I tried to be patient, gave her space, bought her a massage package at her favorite spa, took over more chores at home. She thanked me, but it felt hollow. Our conversations got shorter. Texts became one-word replies. The Alyssa I married used to send me voice notes in the middle of the day just to say she missed me. Now, I'd go hours without hearing from her, even when she was just upstairs. One night, I brought up the distance. I told her I missed us. Missed her. She smiled, touched my hand gently, and said, "We're just evolving. That's what love does, right? It evolves." I wanted to believe that. And for a while I did. I kept telling myself it was a phase. That the pressures of social media, the pandemic, the isolation, all of it was weighing on her. I even started meditating with her in the mornings. Journaled. Went vegan for 2 months. Anything to meet her where she was. But no matter what I did, she drifted further. The real crack appeared 3 weeks before the Mexico trip. I walked into the kitchen and found her crying. Not loud, not messy, just quietly wiping tears while staring at her phone. I asked what was wrong. She said it was a video about emotional abandonment. I offered to talk, to listen, to be whatever she needed. She shook her head and said, "I don't want to bleed on you, Michael. You didn't cut me." That line hit me like a truck. I didn't know what it meant. But I knew. I wasn't part of whatever she was going through anymore. So when she mentioned the trip, this solo escape to get clarity, I nodded and supported it. Because the woman I married would have never lied about something like that. Because I believed she still needed me, just in a different way. Because I didn't want to admit what I already feared in my gut. She was already gone. She used to call me her anchor. Now she looked at me like I was the weight pulling her down. This is the slow burn, where the audience starts feeling the same suspicion and tension the main character does. Every detail matters. After she left for Mexico, the silence in the house was deafening. No morning blender noise from her smoothies. No scent of eucalyptus oil from her diffuser. Number 45-minute voice note rants about her followers' DMs. It was still and empty. At first, I tried to use the time productively. Cleaned up the garage. Went for a few hikes. Caught up on work. I even convinced myself this break might actually help us reconnect. But by the second night, the silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was suspicious. And then, little things started popping up. The first red flag was the location tag on her Instagram story. It didn't match the coordinates of the retreat she said she was staying at. The story showed her by a pool with palm trees, but the wellness resort she mentioned was in the jungle, not near the coast. I should know. I researched it myself when helping her book. I didn't say anything. Not yet. On the third day, she posted nothing. No stories. No updates. For someone who used to share everything, even her breakfast oats, it felt off. Her digital detox excuse didn't track either. She had deals pending. Scheduled brand posts. I'd helped her build the system that ran those. Something wasn't right. Out of curiosity, and maybe a little desperation, I logged into our shared phone account. I never had a reason to before. We trusted each other. But now, Now I needed answers. I wasn't expecting much. Just maybe a location ping or data usage log. What I found instead made my stomach turn. Her phone usage had increased since she left. Long calls at night. Unfamiliar numbers. One of them, the same number, showed up 4 nights in a row. Same time, 11:48 p.m. I copied the number. Ran it through a few databases I had access to from old security contracts. I told myself I was just being paranoid. The name that came back? Gavin Maddox. Fitness coach. Divorced. Miami-based. And conveniently, scheduled to speak at a Wellness in Balance retreat in Tulum. That retreat wasn't the one she told me about. It was beachfront. I remember sitting there at the kitchen counter, staring at his photo. A good-looking guy. Tattoos. Toned. That annoying smirk people wear when they know they're being watched and love it. I didn't freak out. I didn't cry. I went quiet. Because suddenly, so many little things from the past 6 months started clicking into place. The last-minute business trips. The sudden interest in solo travel. The one time she came home with a necklace she never wore again, said it was a gift from a fan. Maybe I didn't want to see it back then. Maybe I was in denial. But now I couldn't unsee it. The next day, I logged into the backup security system on our home network. She never knew I had set up location syncing on our family iPad, just in case we lost it while traveling. It hadn't been reset. The GPS history showed her real-time location, and it didn't match the retreat at all. She was at a private villa, one that Gavin had posted a video from the day before. Same pool. Same view. That was it for me. I went from heartbroken to surgical. I booked a flight that night. No luggage. Just a backpack, my passport, and a portable charger. I picked a random boutique hotel near the coast. I didn't even tell my assistant I was leaving town. As far as the world knew, I was still in Colorado. As far as Alyssa knew, I was still at home, believing her lies. And that's exactly how I wanted it. I stayed silent, but I started watching. Because something told me the worst part hadn't even happened yet. This is the turning point, the exact moment the betrayal is confirmed. Quiet, powerful, and emotionally devastating. I arrived in Tulum just after midnight. The air was thick with humidity, and the streets were quiet, only the occasional motorbike or soft bass from some beachside bar in the distance. I didn't check in with anyone. I used a digital key to access my hotel room, shut the curtains, and open my laptop. I couldn't sleep. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady. Focused. Like I was in a simulation, moving on instinct. By morning, I had a plan. I hired a local photographer, discreet, well-reviewed, to do a location scout for a fake elopement shoot I told him I was planning. I gave him the address I traced through the GPS and asked him to hang out nearby for a few hours. If you see a blonde woman with a guy in a man bun and too many bracelets, I said, snap away. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. It was a photo. There she was, Alyssa, walking hand in hand with Gavin. He was shirtless. She was laughing, tossing her hair back like she did on our honeymoon. He kissed her on the shoulder like he'd done it 100 times. My throat went dry. But my hands? Steady. I texted back, follow them. Discreetly. I'll double your rate. Over the next 3 hours, I got photo after photo. Them drinking coconuts on the beach. Her resting her head on his chest. Him whispering something in her ear while she bit her lip and smiled. The woman I saw in those photos wasn't the Alyssa I knew. She wasn't trying to find clarity. She wasn't working through emotional confusion. She was cheating, fully, openly, joyfully. She had lied to my face, kissed me goodbye, and told me she was reclaiming her energy. No guilt. No hesitation. And it wasn't new. They moved like they'd done this before. Not awkward. Not new lovers. This wasn't some one-time fling. It was a second life. I should have felt shattered. Should have cried or screamed or done something reckless. But I didn't. Instead, I opened a secure folder on my laptop and started uploading the photos to my lawyer. Because that was the moment everything changed. I didn't see my wife anymore. I saw someone who had made a decision, one that I didn't deserve, and one I wouldn't let ruin me. That night, I sat alone at the same beach cafe where I'd first spotted them. I watched the sunset, ordered her favorite drink, a passion fruit mojito, and I made a promise to myself. This wouldn't end in shouting or revenge porn or public fights. No. This would end quietly, strategically, permanently. Because she might have broken my heart. But she had no idea what kind of man she betrayed. I didn't cry that night. I started planning. This part shows the audience that the main character isn't just heartbroken. He's methodical, smart, and dangerous in silence. Revenge begins, and it's surgical. Briefcase brain bomb. By the time I flew back to Colorado, I wasn't the same man who had stood at the airport crying 3 days earlier. I had a new mission now, not to hurt Alyssa, but to remove her like a tumor. Cleanly. Completely. No mess. No trace. Just gone. First, I called my lawyer, Jonah. Ex-Marine turned divorce attorney. Sharp as hell and loyal as a bloodhound. I didn't tell him everything yet. Just said I had enough evidence to justify a no-contest divorce and needed to move fast. He said, "Say less." Next, I shut down all joint access. Bank accounts, cloud storage, business apps, everything we once shared. Since I managed all the cybersecurity in our home and her brand's back end, it was like flipping switches in a server room. She didn't even notice. That same day, I created secure duplicates of every photo, video, message, and GPS coordinate. Labeled, timestamped, geotagged. Stored them in 3 separate encrypted drives. One for my lawyer, one for my personal record, and one just in case things got uglier than expected. Then I contacted our financial advisor. Alyssa had no idea, but I'd kept full control of our investments and assets. The house? In my name. The cars? Leased under my company. The only joint asset she had access to was the wellness brand, and even that ran through an LLC I owned 70% of. I didn't take it away. Not yet. I let her keep it, while quietly preparing a forensic audit on the funds. I wanted to know if she'd funneled money to Gavin or used the business for personal travel. Spoiler, she had. Thousands. In the meantime, I scheduled a locksmith, changed the home's alarm codes, and replaced our garage opener. I even replaced the front door smart cam. The new one was motion-triggered and synced directly to my phone. She had no idea the stage was already being built, and she was walking straight into it. 3 days before her scheduled return, I did one more thing. I scheduled a meeting with her manager, a woman named Kate, who had always had my back. I showed her the photos, the receipts, the location history. Her face went pale. "You need to prepare," she said quietly. "She's not going to take this lightly." "I'm not preparing to fight her," I replied. "I'm preparing to forget her." Then I walked out. When Alyssa finally got back from Tulum, I wasn't there. but the silence in the house spoke volumes. No welcome sign. No flowers. No husband waiting with open arms. Just a legal envelope on the kitchen counter, stamped and sealed. She called me 5 times, texted twice, left a voice note saying, "I feel like something shifted while I was gone. Can we talk?" I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Jonah. Later that night, I got an alert from the doorbell camera. She was standing there, pacing outside, talking to someone on the phone. Then she said the words I'll never forget. "He said he didn't want to fight, but it feels like I already lost." She was right. She had. She thought I'd never fight back, but she forgot. I've been trained to win wars without raising my voice. This is the moment of calm destruction, where the plan unfolds, the lies collapse, and justice lands with impact. Cold, public, final, fire balance scale. The first time I saw Alyssa again, in person, was 2 weeks after she returned from Mexico. We weren't at home. We weren't alone. We were in a courtroom. She walked in wearing her best, clean look, cream blazer, soft curls, minimal makeup. She glanced around the room with that same influencer energy, like everything around her was an audience she could charm. Then her eyes met mine, and she froze. She must have expected a mess. Maybe some screaming, maybe tears. But I sat there in a dark suit, composed, silent, surrounded by legal files, witness affidavits, and enough digital evidence to burn everything she built. When the judge asked if I had anything to submit, I slid forward a slim black folder. Inside, timestamp photos, metadata verified location history, travel receipts pulled from our joint credit card, and a transcript of a phone call Gavin made to a hotel confirming a double occupancy, suite for Mr. Maddox and Miss Carson. Alyssa's lawyer tried to object. Said it was invasive. Said it was a breach of privacy. The judge leaned forward and asked, "Miss Carson, is this your signature on the reservation?" Silence. Then a whispered, "Yes." I didn't gloat. I didn't even look at her again. I just stared straight ahead, because I didn't come for revenge. I came for closure. But it didn't stop there. The forensic audit revealed nearly $18,000 in unauthorized business expenses, all tied to Gavin. Flights, jewelry, private chefs, even a couple's massage labeled client wellness treatment. She tried to claim they were for content creation. My lawyer raised an eyebrow and asked, "Do you often shoot content in matching silk robes, sipping champagne, with your so-called client rubbing your feet?" The courtroom chuckled. Alyssa didn't. Her brand was already bleeding at that point. Kate, her former manager, had quietly released a statement disassociating from her. Sponsors started pulling deals. One even filed for breach of contract because Alyssa missed a product deadline while in Tulum. And Gavin? He went radio silent. Blocked her. Deleted photos. Wiped his social media clean of any trace of their trip. Left her to deal with the fallout, alone. By the time the hearing ended, the judge granted me white heavy checkmark full ownership of the LLC. White heavy checkmark sole rights to the house and primary vehicle. White heavy checkmark a legally binding NDA that barred her from using my name or likeness in future content. She stood up slowly, eyes red, lips trembling. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. I finally looked at her. "You just didn't care if you did." And with that, I walked out. No yelling. No final argument. No dramatic confrontation. Just the sound of the courtroom door closing behind me, and a chapter one would never open again. That evening, I sat on the same back porch where we once planned our future. Only this time, I was alone. A whiskey in hand. Peace in my chest. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't wondering where she was, who she was texting, or what lie was next. It was over. She'd buried herself. All I did was hand her the shovel. The courtroom went silent. I played the audio file, and everyone heard what she really thought of me. 6 months later, the house felt different. Not emptier, just lighter. Her stuff was gone. No more crystals on every windowsill. No more yoga mats draped over chairs. No more tiny sticky notes on the fridge reminding me to breathe with intention. Just clean countertops, open windows, and a silence that finally felt like peace. I kept the place. Not out of spite, but because I had earned it. Every brick, every bill, every late-night tech project that paid for the roof above us. She abandoned it. I reclaimed it. But it wasn't just the house that changed. I changed. I started taking weekend trips, solo ones. I drove through the Rockies, camped by a lake in Montana, relearned how to be alone without feeling lonely. I read books again, cooked real food, adopted a rescue dog named Pixel. He's awkward, like me, but loyal to the bone. A few friends asked if I'd ever date again. I told them I wasn't looking. Not out of bitterness, but because for the first time in my adult life, I was learning how to love something far more important. Myself. You see, it's easy to think you need someone to feel whole, especially when the person you trust most convinces you that their love is the only thing keeping you afloat. But the truth is, if someone walks away and leaves you drowning, they were never your life raft. They were the weight pulling you under. And I didn't just survive without her. I rose. Not because I planned it. Not because I'm some emotional guru. But because I finally stopped fighting to keep someone who had already let go. And that's the part they don't tell you about healing. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not a big speech or a breakthrough cry. It's quiet. It's subtle. It's waking up one day and realizing you didn't think about them once the day before. That's freedom. That's closure. And that's revenge, the kind that doesn't need witnesses. Television final emotional line. She took everything except my soul. And from that, I rebuilt my life, not for her, not for revenge, but for me. If this story hit home, hit that like button, subscribe for more real justice, and drop a comment telling us what you'd do if you were in Michael's shoes. Stay strong, and never doubt your worth. Speech Balloon Fire.